News. Shams reported before this Lakers-Spurs game that Trae Young is being traded to the Washington Wizards. And right here, you see the moment where he found out and he's saying goodbye to his teammates with less than a minute left of tonight's Hawks game, saying his goodbyes after 8 years with Atlanta. So for more here, we say hello to our Shams Charania. Shams, I want to start here. Can you just give us some details on how this deal came together to send Trae Young to the Washington Wizards?
Malika, Trae Young wanted to be a Washington Wizard. He believes he can be a young anchor of this Washington Wizards rebuild. This has clearly been a team that's been drafting high. They're trying to figure out how to take the next step. And Wizards officials believe that Trae Young is that next step in their vision long term. And they want to build with Trae Young. And this is a team that's filled with young players, talented young players. They're going to have $46 million in cap space. And so Trae Young being that piece, and then CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert end up in Atlanta. But how does this end with Trae Young and his era over with the Hawks? And it's because it started in the offseason when the Hawks decided not to offer a contract extension to Trae Young. He has this season and next year $49 million player option. They decided not to give him a contract extension offer, and now Trae Young is going to make his case for a long-term future with the Wizards.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine that there's going to be some sort of extension coming down the pipeline here for Trae Young and the Washington Wizards. But on the Atlanta side of all of this, of course they get Corey Kispert, as you mentioned, and CJ McCollum. Are they done making moves before the trade deadline?
Look at this Trae Young deal sets the Atlanta Hawks with additional financial flexibility to be active on the trade front to land another big name player, another major salary, and that being Anthony Davis in season. They're going to pursue Anthony Davis as a prime trade target with the Mavericks, but allowing this pursuit of Anthony Davis is really made possible because you get rid of this salary of Trae Young moving forward. And this is a Hawks team that's now going to turn the page with their young core led by Jalen Johnson and bring in CJ McCollum immediately, a plug-and-play veteran that can space the floor. Corey Kispert, a sharpshooter. So the Hawks are now moving toward figuring out, is there a big salary player that can bring in potentially Anthony Davis?
Okay, very interesting. That's certainly something.
The Hawks have traded Trae Young to the Washington Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. That's according to multiple reports. A four-time All-Star, Young has been the face of the Hawks since he was drafted in 2018. He led Atlanta to 3 postseason appearances, including a run to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021. But now, Atlanta is moving in another direction, and Young gets a chance at a fresh start in D.C. For more, I'm joined by CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez. John, this trade has been kind of percolating for a while now, but what's your general reaction?
Yeah, it has been percolating for a while, right? And at some point, the Atlanta Hawks looked around and went, it's been fun, Trae Young, but we're going to have to move on from you. And we really got an indication of that, Madeline, this offseason when they had an opportunity to extend Trae Young. He definitely wanted a contract extension. And the new front office led by Ansi Saleh, who's a really smart guy, they put together a group and they went, we'd rather not pay you. And that's really when the writing was on the wall that it was time for him to move on. This has been Jalen Johnson's team for a while. Casual NBA fans are starting to get clued into him. He's going to be an all-star this year. He's playing at an all-NBA caliber level. And they just decided that, they really can't move forward with Trae Young anymore. They're not a good defensive team in general, Madeline. They're just 16th, middle of the pack in defensive rating. They're a horrendous defensive team when Trae Young is out there. He's still a good passer. He's still a really good scorer, although inefficient, but he really brings their level down on the whole. Just 17-21 this year, 10th in the East. They're only 2-8. He's only played 10 games this year. And so finally, they were looking around. This wasn't a huge market for Trae Young, but they finally found a taker in the Washington Wizards who were willing to say, okay, we'll bring him in, we'll kick the tires. He's got a player option at $48.9 million next year. We'll see how it goes, and then we'll go from there.
It's incredible to see how much Trae Young's star has fallen, though. I mean, again, early round draft pick in 2018, Ice Trae wreaking havoc in the association, one of just 3 players in NBA history to have career averages of 25 or more points and 8 or more assists. But John, you've talked about plenty of times in the past how much better the Hawks have looked without Young on the floor. So now that they've made this change, what is next for this Atlanta franchise moving forward now that they've got increased financial flexibility and building around their young core?
Yeah, that financial flexibility is important in that young core that you just mentioned. So I mentioned Jalen Johnson. It's his team. It's been his team, but this officially signals it. Then beyond that, you've got Dyson Daniels. They just brought in Nikhil Alexander-Walker from the Minnesota Timberwolves as a free agent, big free agent signing over the offseason. So they've got that nice young core, Onyeka Okongwu as well, Zachary Resache. They've got some nice pieces, but as you noted, by clearing him off the books, now you bring in CJ McCollum. He's on an expiring contract. They might end up rerouting him. The hot rumor has really been Anthony Davis. Could the Hawks lay their hands on Anthony Davis? Would the Dallas Mavericks be willing to move on from him? Now, previous general manager with the Mavericks, Nico Harrison, wanted to see what would happen with Cooper Flagg, with Kyrie Irving, who's expected back shortly from an ACL injury, and then Anthony Davis. But this rumor has just been sort of bubbling up to the surface about whether or not the Hawks might be able to snag him away and steal him from the Mavs. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that, because clearly Anse Saleh, the general manager for the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks have designs on something else here, right? They clear Trae Young off the books. Now we'll see what else happens, because they're just barely clinging to that last play-in spot in the Eastern Conference, and I think they have designs on something a little bit better than that.
Yeah, now as this news breaks, it's hard not to notice the social media reaction to the surprisingly low asking price for a four-time NBA All-Star. Are you surprised with what it took to get this deal done?
Not really, because when you look around at the market, there wasn't much of one, right? The market was a lot of people speculating that, hey, maybe the Kings will jump on this, because the Kings tend to do pretty foolish things. They're already backcourt heavy. The Kings have thrown a lot of darts at the wall, and almost none of them have stuck over the years. And so when all of a sudden the Kings have identified you as a potential landing spot, then you know that things have fallen pretty far. Yes, he did make several All-Star games in the past. He's only made one third-team All-NBA. He's 27 years old. And as I said, there's not a lot of market for a lead guard who doesn't play defense. If you're picking out one position in the NBA to say what's the deepest, it would be lead guard. They're everywhere. The league is lousy with them. And so you really have to be something special for a team to trade for you and then give up draft compensation. Initially, Madeline, when this rumor percolated about the Washington Wizards being the landing spot for Trae Young, there was rumors that the Atlanta Hawks would have to attach draft pick compensation just for the Wizards to take his salary, because he still has $48.9 million on the books next year on a player option. Now, they didn't have to do that ultimately, but yes, when you end up as the Wizards are your last destination and even the Kings don't want you, your star has really fallen.
But you know what? A chance to reboot it, right? And Trae Young joins a young core in Washington. Less than 2 years remaining on his contract, though. Is this a long-term destination for him, or is this a short-term show me what you're working with the Wizards?
Yeah, I think it's that. It's a little bit of an audition. I think if you're the Wizards, you go, okay, we've got this young core. We've got Alex Sarr and Keyshawn George and Bilal Coulibaly and a whole bunch of the other Champagny. Let's see what we've got, right? They've just been collecting these young pieces who haven't really amounted to much. And so now they bring in Trae Young, and he's a bona fide superstar, star at least, right? Somebody that you could at least sell tickets around. So I think if you're the Wizards, you want to be of two minds. One, you don't want to give up that top 8 protected pick that you owe to the New York Knicks. You definitely want to hold on to that. So watch out for all of a sudden, maybe if they start playing better, they have been playing better recently, although they lost tonight to the Philadelphia 76ers, but they don't want to give up that pick. So if they do start playing better, you might see like a shutdown situation for Trae Young. But I definitely think it's an audition for him, where he's probably going to pick up that $48.9 million player option next year. And in the interim, they see if they're the right fit for him and he's the right fit for them. And if so, maybe they come to a deal. If not, he'll be moving on.
I think one thing we should all do is circle February 24th on our calendars, because that's when Trae Young and the Wizards will face the Atlanta Hawks next. Sean Gonzalez, thanks so much for the insight.